If you have children and are looking for a family-friendly store, look no further than Aw Yeah Comics. Visit one of their 3 locations, Harrison, New York, Muncie, Indiana, or Skokie, Illinois, and check out awyeahcomics.com for more. Their name says exactly how they feel about it. Aw yeah! Fat Moose Comics, established in 1982, is New Jersey's best and oldest comic book store. Moose has that rare, old-school comic shop feel and camaraderie, yet also remains a welcoming space for new fans. Visit them in Whippany or reach out via the Fat Moose Comics Facebook page. Ever wonder what would happen if a person who knew barely anything about comics decided to absorb hundreds of Superman stories? Robbo is that kind of person, and that's exactly what he's doing on a new show called This Podcast Will Never Die. Listen and subscribe today. Single Bound is a new podcast hosted by married couple Amy and Logan as they review single issues of comics. And if the title makes you think of Superman, you're not alone, as the Man of Steel is a regular topic of discussion. Listen and subscribe to Single Bound on Spotify and YouTube. In the 1950s, George Reeves embodied the Man of Steel in Superman's first television adaptation, from its gritty black and white beginnings to the kid-friendly color years. To this day, an entire generation reveres George as their Superman, while for others, the show remains an overlooked, underrated chapter in the character's history. On this podcast, we bring everyone together as we break down each episode of Adventures of Superman, examining it within the context of the series itself, as well as the larger Superman mythology. Welcome to another exciting episode in the Adventures of Superman. I'm your host, Anthony Desiato. Joining me to discuss Season 5, Episode 6, Disappearing Lois, is the host of Always Hold On to Smallville, returning guest, Zach Moore. Welcome to Season 5.
Happy to be here in Season 5 of colored 1950s Metropolis.
That's right. And as always, whenever you're here, I try to match you up with an episode that has some sort of point of connection for you, especially given your deep love of Smallville. And the fact that we have an episode where Lois goes undercover as a maid, I feel like we did it.
Yes, as she does in the Season 8 premiere Odyssey, which you, of course, guested with me on my podcast on Always Home to Smallville about. So it's funny to be on the other side of this, being a guest on another rewatch podcast for shows, because I, too, when I was, not always, because sometimes you just got to have a slot and you got to have people and you fill it out. But I was like, who would be a good fit for this for whatever reason? So it's funny to hear you have that same thought process. Like, oh, yeah, there's something in this that's vaguely like something in some other episode of Smallville. So here you go. This one's for you.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate that. Now, this scene of Lois undercover as a maid, a lot less sexually charged than the Smallville one.
I would say. Which is funny when you say it, because the one in Smallville is between Lois and Tess Mercer. So
yeah, but there were some
her first episode.
There. Yeah,
what an establishment of that character. But yeah, no, Lois on Smallville. She wore a lot of costumes, and she was in a quote unquote traditional French maid costume in that one. And Lois in this episode is just more like just normal clothes. Her and Jimmy in his overalls. So it's a different vibe they're going for.
Yes, they don't sex her up here or anything like that. But yeah, we'll have a lot to talk about. So in this one, Lois tricks Clark into thinking she's disappeared while she goes undercover as a maid to land an interview with a reclusive gangster. This aired April 12th, 1957, written by the brother-sister duo of David and Peggy Chandler, directed by Harry Gerstad, and our guest cast Milton Fromm as Lank Garrett, Yvonne White as Sarah Green, and Ben Weldon as Lefty. Now, Ben Weldon is one of the most frequent Adventures of Superman guest stars. Pops up a lot, always as a different character. We have a season and a half left of this podcast, and I know I got to drop this, and I know I have to let it go. I know.
Yeah.
But this one was especially egregious to me because his character here is Lefty.
Okay.
He was in the season 3 standout episode, Flight to the North, where he played Leftover Louie. So we go Leftover Louie, Lefty. Okay. And in Flight to the North, he and his accomplice, similar to what we see here, were sitting on a stash of money that they didn't want to spend because they didn't want to arouse the attention of the police. So I'm just saying, it's like these two characters couldn't be any more similar. Just make him the same guy.
Well, I recognized him as well. Because he is one of the most prolific returning guest actors, as very similar characters all the time. Like he was in well, I don't know. He was in a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of famous ones, a lot of probably undercover ones, or less than famous ones, however you want to say that. But what's funny about this show, and you said it many times, is not only do you have recurring guest stars, they never come back as the same characters, but they play basically the same character. It's like, this is a guy that Clark Kent put in jail 4 years ago. I'm like, why couldn't you just make him one of the characters from season 2 or whatever, right? It's so funny.
It's so funny to me. But all right, overall impressions of this one. What did you think?
You know, I enjoyed this one quite a bit, actually. I thought it was pretty enjoyable. This would have slid right in when season 1 or 2, I think. Nothing too outrageous. I felt like there was actually some menace to the head gangster. Was it Lang was his name?
I've seen it written as Lank Garrett.
Lank. Okay. I'm Smallville on the brain. Lang is what my brain translated that. But I enjoyed this one, and we get some Clark Kent frustration, which is always fun to see from George Reeves. So I had a good time with it, and a slightly intriguing premise as the title goes, disappearing Lois for about 5-6 minutes in there. It was pretty intriguing mystery for Clark to chase down.
Yeah, agreed. It's funny. I had a weird experience with this one because before starting to record seasons 5 and 6, I took a few nights and I watched through all of seasons 5 and 6. Now, I had seen a lot of these already, but there were a few that had escaped my sight until that viewing.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as I'm prepping for each episode, I'm watching them yet again, one at a time. So not too long ago, I watched this episode as part of a binge, essentially. And I gotta say that during that viewing, I did not get a ton out of this one. I feel like the episodes back to back were just kind of wearing on me. And so when I sat down to watch it again for this recording, I was like, all right, here we go with this. And I found myself having a really good time with it. So I'm curious with other episodes if I'll encounter something similar. But I think this just might be another instance where these episodes not meant to be binged, never intended to be binged. And I think they actually work a lot better in isolation. So I had a lot of fun with this, like way more than I anticipated upon this rewatch.
Yeah. I mean, the show is formulaic. I mean, who's gonna get kidnapped this week? And that's which gangster's gonna be hiding this, or who did Clark Kent put away 5 years ago that's back in town and up to no good, and that sort of thing. So, and they blur together too. Cause I try to watch these. I try not to like just binge them too much, but I watch them in clumps, I guess. And I've found that when I get about 3 or 4 or 5 in, I'm like, okay, I need to step away from this. And then you step away from it, you come back. I'm like, oh, what a fun little Superman adventure. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I thought this was a lot of fun. I thought this was a great episode for Noel Neill as Lois.
Yes.
We'll get to it deep in the episode, but when she turns lefty, I thought that was fantastic. There's also a great moment between Lois and Clark in this relatively early on where I said to myself, oh, I really like this dynamic. I want more of this. So I really thought that was great. And while this episode doesn't rise to the level of, The Face and the Voice, where Clark really thinks he's losing it and he's committing these crimes while he's sleepwalking, you do see him struggle in trying to figure out what's gone on with Lois. And then later on, we'll get to it when Superman sees the stolen money with the X-ray vision, and then Clark and Henderson go back later. Yeah. But you see he's like driving himself crazy. He's biting his fist. He's like, what the F is going on? So, it put him through the ringer a little bit more than you typically see. I mean, look, it's no secret. The episodes that tend to not do much for me are the ones where he's kind of got it all figured out. And the only real obstacle is, well, if he makes a move now, they'll know he's Superman. Right? Like those, they're fine, but they don't really grab me as much. But when it's something like this, where he's really struggling with something, it's great. Yeah. And I feel like we got this. I mean, I don't even know if this is a complaint or a critique, because I don't know. I don't think I'm right on this, but my part of me feels like there were 2 interesting ideas here. Lois disappearing and them trying to find her, and Lois going undercover. And overall, I'll argue against myself, because overall, I think the episode did a good job of fusing them together, I think, but I still sort of have this instinct of like, hey, maybe each could have been its own episode. Cause I don't know. I don't know how much we really get out of her, quote unquote, disappearing. I don't know what you thought.
Well, did you ever see that Kurt Russell movie, Breakdown?
No.
Where it's like he's on the side of the road and his car breaks down, and like he goes to a gas station, he comes back, his wife is gone, and it's like she never existed or something. Like that's the kind of stuff. I mean, I think that is a go-to story trope. Like somebody like, where, oh, I've never heard of so and so. I've lived here for 20 years. What are you talking about? Right. So that's intriguing. But I guess I understand what you're saying there, because it's a fun idea. And like I said, I'm like, oh, I enjoyed the 6 minutes we got of it. But how far can you string that out? I guess, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. And who knows?
In the lesser episode, Anthony, they would have strung it out the whole time. You'd been like, man, like I can't believe they just stuck on this one thing the whole time.
You know, they really
would have added another element.
They really needed something else, some other angle to explore. No, you're right. Yeah. And look, for all we know, these could have started as two different ideas on a board in the writer's room, and they're like, they actually could go well together. So I think that's fine. I guess it's just that we learn where Lois is so quickly, but Clark remains in the dark. So I don't know. The fact that the audience is in on it maybe just let a little of the air out of it for me. But overall, I think they fit together well. All right, shall we segue into our play-by-play here?
Let's do it. One last point about the title, though. Are we not showing titles in season 5 episodes?
Nope, that's gone.
What is that about?
Yeah, that's a bummer. A real bummer.
Like we went from like a fun title card in the first season to like text on top of footage in the second, third, and fourth season. And now it's like, you don't even know the title. And I like knowing the title. It kind of sets the tone for what you're about to watch. So
I miss that too. I like that now we are seeing bullets bounce off of Superman when there's gunfire. That's a nice touch, but I miss the title card.
Did we never see that before? No kind of animation before?
No, it was always just the sound effect.
Okay. Do you like the visual of that?
Yeah, it's a little, look, they could only do so much, but it's a little something. It was better than just hearing it, seeing nothing.
I love it. I love it too. It's one of those things like we always try to find things to latch onto and talk about in these George Reeves episodes, like the powers, right? So the powers, it's cool when you see the sparks. Like I think about in Superman the movie, the special edition, when we see Superman go through Lex Luthor's gauntlet, all the guns and all that, like you see the blasts on him. Very cool. But I understand that's very expensive. So I understand why they don't want to do that every time. And also, if that happens all the time, and somebody shoots Clark, like they do in this episode, by the way, are you going to see a little spark then? These are the questions you ask. Do people see the heat vision Clark Kent uses? Do they see the spark when the bullet hits them? Things to discuss, things to talk about. But no, I didn't realize that was, because I thought to myself, oh, do they just... do they do that every time? They just happen to do it this episode, but cool. So they've officially started to do that regularly moving forward with little sparks on them. That's nice.
Yeah. Because I complained about the lack of that in an earlier recording. And then I got into these episodes and I was like, oh, so I cut that out of the earlier episode because because I'll hear from people
behind the scenes there.
Well,
folks.
I'll hear from people if I complain about, there's no visual effect. I'll hear that. Oh no, it's in season 5 and 6. Anyway. We open in Perry's office as the chief offers a bonus of 1 month's salary to the reporter who lands an interview with criminal Lank Garrett, recently out on parole and believed to be sitting on a fortune of stolen money. Now, Zach, I ask you, and this harkens back to our last conversation and a fun bit of business. One guess what Lois wants that bonus for. It's not said, but we know.
It's that new hat.
She wants that hat, baby.
Gonna get that new hat.
That's all I was thinking at that moment. Yeah. And
that's one of my favorite things about this podcast.
Yeah. So take a shot if you made a drinking game out of this. But yeah, I mean, they really plunge us right into the middle of this scene here. I feel like we just open on Jimmy saying, "Oh, are you mad at me, Chief?" Something like that. And then we get into this business.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of these episodes, sometimes they run a little short. So they would have run a little short. So they're like extending stuff. They're like, Kent, Lane, get in here. And then they go in the office and they start talking, but we're like, in the middle of the conversation here. So good on them.
Yeah. I do love Perry's line when, none of them really know what's going on or where Perry is going with this. And Perry barks at Clark, something to the effect of like, if you read the paper that you wrote for, like, you'd know what's going on.
If you read the very paper you work for.
So I like that.
No respect for his reporters.
No. Well, it's also funny too, because like They explain how he's been in prison. Garrett's been in prison for 7 years, right? Because they nabbed him for robbery. They were never able to pin any murders on him. But Lois has this line about how he's killed 20 people.
That is quite a killing spree. For 7 years for 20 people? Like,
well, but they couldn't pin the murders on him. Right? But it's just so Perry's really he's incentivizing them, these reporters, to really put themselves at great risk by inserting themselves with this mass murderer. I mean, 20 people. It's like one of my favorite bits from The Office, when Michael does his prison Mike bit, and they're like, "Oh, what'd you do, prison Mike?" He's like, "I robbed and I stole and I kidnapped the president's son and I held him for ransom." And Jim's like, "That's quite the rap sheet, prison Mike." It's like, he just got killed 20 men.
I gotta say, so Jimmy's all bragging about, I'll go talk to him, and then they mentioned that he killed 20 men. Jimmy's like, "My name is John Paul Jones," and Clark thought that was the funniest thing he'd ever heard.
Yeah, he loved that. You really did. Amazing. All right. So out in the hallway, Clark offers Lois a ride home to her new apartment. And after he walks off, Lois hatches an idea, clearly, as she asks Jimmy to team up on this assignment. At her apartment, Lois invites Clark inside. He compliments her on her new place, and she bets him a stake that she gets the interview first. Now, this is the dynamic that I was alluding to earlier that I really liked, because I feel like in this show, especially with the Noel Neill version of Lois, and even more so in the Color era, I feel like so much of the time Lois and Jimmy are paired up, and we love that, and they played off of each other great. But I feel like whenever you had the two of them together, Clark, or Superman, but especially Clark, comes off more as the dad, and they're the kids getting into hijinks.
I think he even calls them kids sometimes, like, "Hey kids, watch it here, kids, stay here, kids." Like, he says that to them, I feel like, in a few episodes.
100%. And so, but I feel like when you get just Lois and Clark together, like we have here, they feel more like peers and competitors and friends. And I like that. And just the fact that she bets him a stake. Like, I'm always fascinated by the unseen secret world of the show. It's like, we don't see it in this episode, but afterwards, does he take her out for steak? Do they go dancing at the Tip Top Club? Like, where does the night go?
I do. No, I love that too. And I actually, it's funny. I've noticed it's like more even in these later Color episodes, almost. It's like they're doing more of that. Maybe because they were like, well, it's something different we haven't done before. Like, I like, you're right. Like, the vibe between the two of them is fun when they have that, like in that Wedding of Superman episode at the end of season 4, when I don't know if this was part of the dream or not or whatever, but she's answering all these letters, and she asks Clark, like, "What does spring mean to you?" He's like, "Baseball." And then she gets mad at him and like throws the letters at him. Like, it's a cute little back and forth. And you're right. Like, that's the kind of stuff, like, I mean, we're used to it now in the year 2020, fill in the blank, when we're recording this, with all the Lois and Clark in place. So it's fun to see the shades of these characters, because not only is there no, any substantial Superman Lois romance in the show, there's absolutely zero substantial Lois and Clark romance on this show. So we just gravitate towards anything that makes them feel more like equals, especially the way they were in the season 1 version.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's so small, but the fact that she invites him in to her place. Now, it's very fleeting, and the plot requires it, right? It's important that he sees the furniture, but they still could have done something at the door. I was just struck by the fact that, he actually went inside. And again, it's so fast. He's in there for like a second, and then he's like, "Oh, time to go."
I better get back to my place.
God forbid he takes his jacket off and sits down,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, none of that. He can't even loosen his tie in 1957 here with Lois Lane. Anyway, that is funny. These it's funny when they actually mention, obviously it's a huge plot point here, that she has a new apartment, because I feel like, we see Clark's apartment again later, and I'm like, I don't think this is the same apartment we've seen the last 2 or 3 times.
Always someplace. This guy is just moving around constantly.
It's on the secret life. Why is he moving around so often?
And yes, we know there are practical realities of their sets and all of that, but yeah, just within the life of the show, I just kind of love this idea. He's just always moving around. Yeah,
always on the move.
The neighbor gets too friendly, and he's like, "All right, gotta go."
Yep. Actually, they might catch him doing some Superman stuff, so he's got to keep go. It's like the Incredible Hulk moving on to the next town. You can't make friends, you can't make attachments. You just got to keep moving.
Yeah. Well, the last one you were here for, Jimmy the Kid, we had the landlady slash house manager, den mother, whatever.
Jimmy in, yeah. Oh, you want to wait down the hall? Let me let you into his apartment, Mr. Olsen.
Yeah, and she said to Clark after, she's like, I hope that was okay. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's fine. It wasn't fine. He moved out the next day.
Yeah, that's exactly that's why he's where he is now. We solved it.
Headcanon. All right, as soon as Clark returns home, Lois calls to say she forgot her purse in his car. When he returns and knocks on her apartment door, number 13, a different woman answers, claims to have lived there for years and not to know who Lois is, and shows off her entirely different furniture. Quite the little mystery here.
Yeah, at first I was like, is this Noelle Neal's like stand-in or stunt double because she's wearing similar clothes and has the reddish hair? And I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, I don't. I didn't know what was going on.
No.
Did you?
No. I know I go to this well a lot too, but as always, man, I can never shake the season 1 Clark. And I just say to myself, if this had been season 1, he would have just pushed past her. Yeah.
Lois, in here.
Yeah, I got to get to the bottom of this. Yeah. But yeah, quite the little mystery here to set us off. A perplexed Clark relates Lois's mysterious disappearance to Henderson, explaining that he also checked with the landlady and janitor of the building and switchboard operator. Bill posits that Clark must have made a mistake and might need a vacation.
You've been working hard, Clark.
Yeah. And at one point, Clark says, I'm not an idiot, Bill. To which Henderson retorts, aren't you? I'm like, what a dick.
These guys are friends, though.
I know.
This is how friends talk to each other. I love it. I love these guys. I don't know, like he calling him Bill, them just talking all the time. Like, I like their vibe as well.
Yeah, all kidding aside. No, I did like that as well for exactly that reason. It's like, yeah, and we've seen them playing darts together and like all sorts of stuff. So that felt very, very lived in. You know, this is quite irresponsible of Lois, though, because Bill talks about how he's going to have the building put under 24-hour surveillance. I mean, he's just really wasting city resources here with this ruse. That's a
good idea. But the important thing is she's going to get that month's salary. So you would do it, too, if that was on the line, right?
Listen, if there were a new hat out there that I just had to have, I'd stop at nothing. No, I would stop at
$10. What was that hat? $10, I think it was. This is a month's salary. She can buy a closet full of hats.
I know. At Garrett's place, Garrett belittles and backhands his lackey, Lefty, before Lois and Jimmy arrive. Yeah.
That's some season 1 energy right here, right?
Yeah, not that I like to see somebody hit, but yeah, like there was some teeth to that. Yeah.
He's a bad guy, you know? That's the thing. Like, everybody's a gangster on this show. Like, 90% of the villains are gangsters. And in the early seasons, they would shoot people, hit people. As the show goes on, it becomes more child friendly, a little more colorful, a little more playful. They're more just goofy, you know. But to see somebody like put some hands on somebody because he's a bad guy, like you said, it gives a little bit of teeth, a little bit of menace.
Yeah. So Lois and Jimmy arrive posing as cleaners. Now there's a funny bit here. I didn't write down the lines. Jimmy's like, "Oh, we clean on Tuesday," and they're like, "Well, it's Wednesday." And Lois goes, "Oh, he's a slow worker." I just like the brainless boy.
You mentioned season 8, episode 1 of Smallville. I believe it's in. Let's see. I think it's Lionel is there. Traveler. I think it's in Traveler. Season 7, episode 14 of Smallville. Look at that recall. When Jimmy and Henry James Olsen go dress up as like plant like installers or something, and they sneak into Lionel's office. That kind of reminds me of that too, because it's Lois and Jimmy here together. So
yes, yeah, definitely reminiscent of that. Lois instantly blows her cover with too many questions and explains to Garrett how she got Clark out of the picture. I know we had to move this along. I'm not going to harp on this, but I would have liked a little bit more savvy from her. It's like she's just like instantly going into just peppering this guy with questions, and he sees through it.
Slow burn. You got to do a slow burn on that, Lois.
Well, and then also she has her press pass like sticking out of her pocket.
That is ridiculous. Yeah, they could. They was a little sloppy. All this exposition for them to find out who she is, and she's like, "Give me that. What is that?" It's a Lois Lane Daily Planet. Leave that in your purse. You leave with Clark, so people can't find that on you, right, Lois?
Exactly.
Also, can I just point out that, like, on shows like Lois and Clark in particular, The New Adventures of Superman, that show, Lois and Clark are celebrity journalists. There's posters of them. Everybody knows them. Like on this show, they pop up everywhere and people don't know who they are. You know what I'm saying? Like if Terry Hatcher tried to show up as some cleaning lady, they'd be like, "You're Lois Lane."
Okay, that's a good point. So I guess a couple of things on that. So
Okay.
one of the things that I really did like, so Lois explains to Garrett this whole ruse and why she's there and she's trying to get the interview and everything. And that's where we learn that, yes, she went to all of these lengths. She enlisted her landlady and janitor and she switched all the furniture and all this stuff.
Oh, and the reason she tells him this is because they're there for the interview. They tell him that, and he's like, "All right, I respect that, but you got to tell me the whole story, or I'm not going to give." Right. So that's why they feel like they're compelled to tell them. Right.
Right. And the fact that Garrett, so to your point, like Garrett knows Clark. He has a line about, oh, he wrote all those articles that helped put me away. So there's that recognition. So that's one side. But then, yeah, the other, like, I get what you're saying. The only thing I chalk it up to, other than we have to have these episodes, and I get, but is that, I don't know, like they would know them by name, but they don't not by face.
If you look at the prop newspapers, all these guys have in this episode, there's like no pictures. There's all text. So that's it. They know the names. They don't know the faces. Fair enough.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, as I said at the top, this is not a sexualized version of Lois as the maid, but Garrett does have a line about her being too pretty to be a maid. Mm-hmm. And then this leads to, I think it was a funny bit of Jimmy explaining that Lois is doing this because she has to support 3 grandmothers.
Nobody's got 3 grandmothers.
And then, like we said, Garrett's impressed. He's eager to stick it to Clark. So he agrees to an interview after a meeting if the place is clean when he gets back.
That is hilarious. I love that. That is a little nuance to this guy. Like, hey, you're cleaners? Go ahead and clean. And then Jimmy, when they leave, Jimmy tells Lois, why couldn't we have said we were census takers or something?
Yeah, that was great. And I felt for Jimmy in that moment. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. You know what that reminded me of is, again, Smallville references all around, y'all. Smallville season 1, episode 18. I swear I'm not doing this to like show off my recall of the Smallville episodes. But
it's all good.
It's Drone. It's when that reporter from like the Metropolis Journal or something, she's trying to get an interview with Lex. And then she poses as his masseuse. And then they start talking. And he's like, and then eventually he's like, oh, fine, I'll give you an interview. And she's like, okay. She goes to get her tape recorder. And then he's like, I paid for an hour. So she has to finish the massage she's giving him. So I don't know, little quirky character thing. I think it's fun. As a stock gangster villain of the week, this guy has become one of my favorites.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Clark confers with Perry and realizes Garrett is their only lead. Superman arrives at Garrett's place and pinpoints the stash of money under the floorboard with his X-ray vision. Lois and Jimmy observe all of this, retrieve the money after Superman leaves, and are promptly caught in the act. Garrett directs Lefty to dispose of them at a mine shaft, which will lead us to our final sequence here. But yeah, anything stand out to you about this business?
Superman, I mean, did you not hear Lois and Jimmy like 3 feet away? Just saying. That's fine though. He doesn't have doesn't have super hearing on constantly or anything like that. But I was wondering too, like, okay, so he found the secret stash and then he left. Like, why not just take it? As he tells Henderson later, well, I couldn't take it. I didn't have a warrant. So.
Yeah. And Henderson even says in that next scene, he's like, and Superman never steals, even from criminals.
That's right, kids. Look into the camera and tell them. But the worst timing ever for Lois and Jimmy to pull this out of the floor right when the guys get home, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as far as Superman not clocking that Lois and Jimmy were in the apartment, I had the same initial reaction as you. And this has come up a lot of times. Like I've had to make peace with the fact that, like you said, he's not, as Clark or Superman, he's not arriving and like scanning with his X-ray vision. He's not listening. Like it's just not how he operates. So, I mean, although it's the sort of thing they were so close, I feel like even a normal human might pick up on the fact that like someone's there, but it's fine. And as far as, they're not taking it, I mean, putting my legal hat on, it's like, it ultimately was better for Henderson and the police to show up and had the money been there and they were able to obtain it with the warrant. I mean, that would be the way to do it. But like this show is nothing if not consistent with this moral code of like, you don't steal even from criminals. And Zach, if you give someone your word, even someone who's going to kill you or someone else, you better hold true to that no matter what.
I feel like, this is maybe a side effect of like the Comics Code Authority of the time, but these constraints allow for the stories to go on. So these are helpful rules if they were placed on them by DC Comics at the time or by the network at the time, doesn't matter. But the fact that they have to follow these rules helps these stories, because if Superman could go in there and solve it in 30 seconds if he didn't have to abide by these self-imposed rules.
Yeah. Now, out at the mine shaft, Lefty, Lois, and Jimmy arrive. And Lois plays Lefty and convinces him to be his own man and go against Garrett, with Jimmy as his henchman and Lois as his gun maul, and even strokes his face as she makes her pitch. This was the scene of the episode for me. I thought this was great. What'd you make of this?
This is some 1950s seduction she's playing on this guy. And they had established he was a little disrespected by his boss. So easy to turn, I think. And this is one of Lois's strongest episodes in this area, because they're getting kidnapped all the time. And I'm glad she showed some agency to like try and like get them out of this jam, and it worked. And I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I mean, this was such a standout. Yeah, it's funny. I wasn't thinking of that specifically, but you're spot on. It's like for all the times they're kidnapped, like every now and then when you see, I don't know, Jimmy try to fight someone off, or you see Lois do something like this, it's like, yes, my God, they are so practiced at being kidnapped. You would think that at a certain point they would start to develop some sort of tactics to get out of this.
Use your feminine wiles against these criminals, Lois. So good for you. She turns him, and it's not immediate too. Like they kind of like slowly walk him through it. So the scene goes on for a while, but I was enjoying it. So good job, show.
Yeah, it was good. And like you said, they had established that Lefty was a bit dim-witted, but also, we know that Garrett had belittled him for his lack of intelligence. So the fact that Lois uses that, and she's like, well, Garrett knows you're smarter than him. Like, you know what to do. And even after he decides to strike out on his own, he's still prepared to off Lois and Jimmy. But then she has a great point. She's like, well, you haven't done anything wrong yet. But if you do kill us, like then they'll be after you. So let us come with you. Like, very savvy. I liked it a lot.
They use that. And this is another, like, it's like a story trope rule, whatever. They use that kind of logic a lot with these villains. Like, well, if we kill him, the heat will be too hot. Oh yeah, so we just gotta leave him here and we'll leave town, that sort of thing. So I mean, again though, why don't the villains just shoot them? That's why. So they have at least some explanation. I like that. So no, this was a clever, conniving Lois, one that unfortunately we don't get to see a lot of on the show, and I was happy to see it.
Yeah, that's my only real complaint. Is I just wanted more of this. But
exactly.
And at the beginning of that scene, I did laugh when Jimmy tries to get himself out of it, and he offers to go get sandwiches for them, because it's like this guy is always fetching coffee and sandwiches.
Coffee and sandwiches. That is famous because of Panic in the Sky, right? That's like the big coffee and sandwich episode. But he's like, I clocked that line as well.
Yeah,
sandwiches.
Funny enough, for all of our joking about coffee and sandwiches and all of the watching of the show that I do, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure at some point I've watched one of these episodes while having coffee and sandwiches. But if not, I definitely must before we wrap all of this up, because I feel like that's the signature meal that goes along with the show. All right. At Garrett's apartment, Henderson and Clark come up empty, searching for the money under the floorboard, much to Clark's surprise and frustration. Like you mentioned earlier, he's like, but I saw it.
I mean, you said Superman told you he saw it, right? This guy, that's why I love this Clark Kent. He's just halfway giving away his secret identity at any turn. It is so funny to me.
It's great. And like I had said, you see him biting his fist, and he's like, he doesn't know what to make of any. He was just there.
Right.
And saw it. So yeah, I mean, I like that. I feel like the episode maybe could have even leaned into this a bit more, his inner struggle here. But like that moment
should have gone to that doctor friend of his, right? The doctor friend he sees that is it the face and the voice, right? Yep. He thinks he's sleepwalking. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been great if we only had time for one more scene, All right. Later, Lois calls Clark over to her apartment. Clark and Henderson arrive right before Lefty. Yeah.
Let me stop you there. So Lois calls Clark, and Clark's hangs up. He's like, and he calls Henderson. He's like, yeah, Bill. Yeah, it's Lois. Yeah, I know it's her this time. Like, it's funny. He he's already been made a fool of in front of Henderson, and he has to immediately call him back and tell him that Lois, who he thought was missing, has called him. Like, just it was just funny how just the situation that he's in, the way George Reese played it. I enjoyed that.
I did too. And look, Bill's earlier teasing of Clark aside, and his skepticism of Clark at this point, because now Clark's cried wolf like twice,
right?
But Bill still shows up. Yeah, I like
right.
that. I think that really says a lot about the trust that they have in each other. So that I like that a lot. So Lefty is dismayed over Lois's betrayal, but then Garrett arrives, explaining that he had Lefty tailed, and shoots Clark before leading the rest of them away. This is yet another episode you're joining me for, because the magic necklace was the previous one where Clark gets shot.
This guy gets shot all the time. Anthony, if you had the podcast to do over again and you did a tally board, Clark Kent shot would be a tally board, because this guy, at least half the episodes I'm on with you, he's getting shot, or he's getting thrown out of a car, or he's getting unconscious. Like, so many situations he gets knocked out. I love it. Also, I love how and I believe it, the boss, Garrett, he's like, yeah, dummy, a good thing I have you tailed. I'm like, he would. So that makes sense. And then that's how he finds him here. Like, that all tracks. Because I was like, how are they going to, I didn't know where it was going to go. I was like, they're all going to meet at Lois's apartment. What's going to happen? So when he came in, it all kind of clicked together. And yeah, Clark Kent is getting shot in front of his friends again, by the way. This always happens in front of his friends. How many lucky coins is he going to pull out of his pocket? Oh, no problem. It's in my press pass, or whatever he says to people half the time.
I know. Yeah. I mean, he just gets shot and face plants, and they leave him. They're forced to leave him. I know. But then in our climax here, Superman rescues Lois, Jimmy, and Henderson at the mine shaft and explains that Clark survived. Not much else really stood out to me about this final encounter at the shaft. I don't know if you had anything on this.
No, not really. He knocks Lefty out, puts him there to die with the other ones, and he's gonna collapse the shaft in his very nice, like, turquoise Cadillac. That's a nice classic car he has on him. And Superman stops him, and as we were talking about earlier, he gets shot and there's bullets bouncing off him, which is a nice little extra effect. Anything they can do to spruce things up around here with the special effects is fun. And then he just throws the guys in the mine, which I thought was a funny way to dispatch them, right?
Yes. No, I'm glad you brought that up, because we joke all the time about how in these color episodes, like, getting karate chop, or they're knocking heads
running
together.
into a tree.
Yeah, so at least this was something different. And it's like, all right, yeah, he's throwing them in there. Fair enough. Back at the planet, Clark explains that, truthfully, he isn't in any pain, because his arm's in a sling. And he explains, and he's honest. He really, he does always tell the truth, just like all those times. Clark, how'd you get here so fast? Well, I flew, Lois. True. And I love how Perry offers to have the planet pay his medical bills, and he's like, well, I'm sure there won't be any, Chief.
I'm sure that's some sort of rule they have. Like, Superman cannot lie. Clark Kent cannot lie. Right. Either that's a self-imposed thing, or it's a rule from DC Comics or something, because, again, Comics Code Authority or Kids Show or something like that. And to us, like, you could see it as like, oh, this is like these lame rules. I find it charming that he has to say, nope, I'll be fine. No medical bills. And like you said, he's being honest, and I love it. He's just, his arm is in this sling, it is what it is. And I thought it was a good button to end on.
Yeah. I mean, there is something endearing about just how he flaunts this in front of them. Right. Cause
love it.
Yeah, I mean, it adds an element of fun that, like you said, I mean, whether they were forced to do this or they chose to do this, I like the way it plays.
Well, I mean, we're so used to, like, again, Smallville fans here. Oh no one can find out my secret, and this guy's like, well, maybe I am Superman, Lois. It's like, it's so refreshing.
Well, I know. Back to all those loft scenes between Clark and Lana on Smallville. What if he was just like, well, I guess I am a meteor freak, Lana. Like,
yeah. Well, I can fly.
Yeah. Yeah, after the
Truth
tornado.
Is, Lana, I'm bulletproof. Yeah, that was me in the truck or whatever.
No. Amazing.
I was waiting for some I don't know, one-liner to end it with. But I guess it was like, I won the bet. Like, I don't, like, I'm waiting. They always try to do some pun or something, and they kind of didn't this time. The conversation just ended, and I have nothing. I don't even know what I'm saying about it, but I'm just saying I was waiting for somebody to look into the camera and say something silly, and nobody did.
It felt rather abrupt. I mean, I feel like this episode started abruptly and ended abruptly. I feel like the beginning and the end, they were like, we better just cut that. But the last bit here, Perry says that Lois delivered so much more than he had anticipated. He doubles her bonus. And what stood out to me here is Clark tries to point out that Lois had help because he motions towards Jimmy. But Lois pays no mind to this, right? Because she's thinking about hats. No, it's not the hats, but she goes, but that's when she has that line where she's like, well, I beat you. And he's like, oh, don't you always, Lois? And we're out.
Yeah.
And I know this is very minor, but I am saying to myself, like, hey, like, what about Jimmy in all of this?
Justice for Jimmy Olsen.
Would you cut Jimmy in on this double bonus?
Yeah. At least get him a steak too. I don't know. Like,
I know.
So Clark has to get her a steak even after being shot. Oh man, no. But you know what? Yeah, this shows that Perry White is not the gruff exterior that he portrays all the time, right? He's going above and beyond. Like, Lois, you did a great work. There you go. You know, like I like that. It's a little nuance. Like he puts on a brash front, right? Especially being a newspaper editor of the time, I'm sure they were like that. But I like that he came through and gave her month's salary for this, and congratulate her on going above and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, look, those moments where you see some inner sweetness from him, they're few and far between, but they count for a lot when they have them. I mean, look, I continue to talk about how gobsmacked I was watching that Stamp Day for Superman special where Perry stops Clark and he's like, hey, Ken, sorry, I yelled at you. I'm like, what? Like, who is this? All right, so that was Disappearing Lois. So on a scale of 1 to 5, Great Caesar's Ghost, what are we doing for this one?
Ooh, You know, I think I'll go 4.5 Great Caesar's Ghosts.
Okay.
Out of 5. I really enjoyed it. There was a little sloppy, honest, the sloppiness of like how they find out what they're up to, like how the bad guys find out what Lois and Jimmy's up to. It's a little sloppy, you know. But I enjoyed the villain, like we talked about. Like Garrett, he had some threat, he had some bite to him. Everything made sense. Had some good Lois Lane stuff. Some of the best Lois Lane stuff that we see in these later seasons. And just a fun episode. And then, you know, to see that the frustrated Clark, you know, that season 1 shades of season 1 frustration Clark is always fun. So a really enjoyable episode. So yeah, 4 out of 5 Great Caesar's Ghost for me.
All right. Wait, 4.5.
4.5. Yeah. Excuse me. 4.5 out of 5. Excuse me.
I'm going to go 4. I'm going to go 4 for myself for all the same reasons. And, you know, now having really the complete picture of the color episodes in my head, and this season in particular, you know, I mean, honestly, like they're really only it's a very small number of season 5 episodes that I really kind of hold up as, that I really enjoy it. And this is one of them. I can't go as far as.
Well, thanks for having me on this one then, Anthony.
Yeah, you were on.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you got a good one. So I'm going to go 4 for this. So what would you like to share with folks about Always Hold On to Smallville?
Well, Always Hold On to Smallville is my podcast about the Young Superman show that ran from 2001 to 2011 on the WB and the CW. And you can find us on social media at Always Smallville with 1S. And we have covered each and every episode of Smallville. So if you're curious to start, pick your favorite episode, start from there. And we have all kinds of Superman specials. And obviously there's all sorts of stuff adjacent to Smallville that we talk about as well. So we're having a lot of fun continuing on the podcast in that way. So check us out. And Anthony is a frequent guest. You hear him a lot on my podcast, and I'm happy to return the favor and be on your podcast. So thanks for having me. I've been enjoying this journey through Adventures of Superman. I have not seen, I don't think, any season 5 or 6 episodes before now. You know, as I said in the past, I've seen the black and white one. So this is new to me. So it's fun. And it's going to be sad when it's over. It's always like, having things you haven't seen yet or haven't discovered yet in the Superman fandom is always fun. So it's going to be bittersweet when we're only, there's only, 20 episodes left or something, Anthony, of the show.
I know. Well, I thank you. I always enjoy our conversations on both of our shows. I encourage everyone to check out Always Hold On to Smallville. And you will be back. We have a couple of season 6 episodes you'll be joining me for. So this is not a series wrap on Zach. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because this might not sound great, but I'm looking forward to landing this plane and getting to the end of the rewatch project. But I think there will be that bittersweet element when we finally get there, because you and I were talking off mic. It's like, I don't know how often I'll be popping these discs in to watch episodes once I'm not doing this podcast. So yeah, I think there will be something bittersweet. And even with the episodes that I struggle with the most in watching, the conversations are always fun. So I know that if nothing else, I'll miss. But we still have
Absolutely.
a season and a half to go, so make sure
That's
you,
right. I'm
you
not
keep,
saying
yeah.
start saying goodbye yet. I'm gonna, I mean, what this was the sixth episode
Yeah.
of season 5.
Yeah.
So to me, that's like Smallville. We got like 22 episodes a season. So I mean, like this thing's almost over on my scale. But no, I'm looking forward to being back a couple more times before it's all said and done. And I'll see you guys next season.
All right. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, audience. Keep tuning in. And until then, as always, remember, only Superman can do super things. This podcast is an affiliate of BCW Supplies. The next time you need to restock on comic book bags, boards, boxes, and more, be sure to use promo code FSP to save 10% on your order. That's FSP for Flat Squirrel Productions. It helps support the show too. Thank you. Another way to support the show and receive exclusive content, including the spin-off podcast Beyond Metropolis, is by becoming a member at patreon.com/Anthony Desiato. My sincere thanks to all patrons. Please subscribe, rate, and review today via your podcast platform of choice, and continue the conversation by joining us on social media. Flat Squirrel Podcasts is also home to Digging for Kryptonite, a Superman fan journey, a long-running weekly series mining Superman's vast mythology across time and media. Subscribe today. Another exciting episode is a Flat Squirrel production. Key art by Greg Schiegel and theme music by Dan Pritchard.